So here we move on to certificates for the firewall walkthrough part 2. Certificates are certificates, and on the box here we have the CA, which I created, which is the firewall itself. You can see it's when you create the certificate, you can select whether it wants to be the certificate authority or who it needs to be signed by. And then that's gone on then to sign the other ones. And obviously I have imported the CA into hosts that need to trust those certificates. Additionally, in here, you create a forward trust and forward untrust certificate. This is basically for SSL decryption. If it's trusted, if the website that's been visited is trusted, then the firewall will present the forward trust certificate to the client. If it's untrusted, it will present the forward untrust certificate. Default trusted certificate authorities are the default trusted certificate authorities for the firewall itself. You can see you've got the certificate name there, subject, the issuer, and when it expires. This one in particular expired 2020, December 31st, and it's got an expired status there. Moving down, certificate profile. This is where you build profiles with certificates to be attached to services. Say external dynamic lists is an ideal one, and in that particular scenario, that's how the firewall determines that it's talking to the server that you've configured it for. So it's how it verifies that server. And in here, you select your CA, use CRL or OCSP, the Online Certificate Status Protocol, to check to see whether the certificate is still valid. The firewall can be configured as OCSP, which I haven't done yet, which I should do. And that leads us nicely onto here, where you configure as an OCS responder. So I'm going to configure that now. And I'm going to give it the IP address of my firewall. Okay, and I'm going to commit that. So now I'll be able to use that to revoke certificates should I need to. So following this process here, give it a second. So if I go into device certificates and I look at one that I've created, so if I go to internal gateway, for instance, I can revoke that certificate. And then the next time the firewall goes to check and make sure if that certificate is valid, you'll get a message that it's not. The SSL TLS service profiles, these are the TLS profiles that are placed on interfaces and services that you use. So when you create it, you have the name, you have the certificate that you're going to use, and then you have the version of TLS that you want to use. Obviously, the latest and greatest is 1.2 that's supported here. So best practice is to select 1.2 as the minimum version. The maximum version is max, which means it will force the clients to use 1.2. SCEP or SEP is SEP, which is the Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol. And this is used to automatically enroll for certificates and things like that, mainly for mobile device management and so on, and then requires a SEP server, and this is where you create that SEP server. You create a challenge and all the varying things around that connection. SSL decryption exclusion. There are many, as you can see here, there are many applications that fail to work if you start to decrypt them. WhatsApp.net, for instance, uses a pin cert. So the client, the WhatsApp client, will only accept certificates that are signed by a certain authority. So by default, they are excluded from decryption. So even if they exist within, so for instance, WhatsApp.net exists within social media and messaging, that won't be decrypted by default because it's in this list. Okay, response pages are what they suggest they are. They're the pages that clients and users see in a response to an action, usually a blocking action or a request for internal auth error and so on. This basically then has to be, if I just show you now, so if we go to objects, no, don't want networks, interfaces, interface management, objects tool. So these are the management profiles that you then place on your interfaces. You're going to give it a name. And then for administrative management services, so these are connecting to the management server of the firewall itself. HTTP you would never do, or Telnet, because you just wouldn't. So HTTPS or SSH. That means that any interface that has this interface management profile attached to it allows those services to be accessed through it. The network services underneath is ping. You can ping the interface. This is separate from here. HTTP OCSP. This can be used as an OCSP. SNMP, respond to SNMP on this interface. Response pages, you have to have this ticked in order for it to be able to present response pages. And then user ID is user ID. User ID, syslog, listener, SSL. These are used specifically to listen for a syslog from things like authenticating proxies and so on, where you're trying to glean user ID based on a syslog from something that's already authenticated that user. And the permitted IP addresses. So if you only wanted, so in this ping only, if you only wanted the ping to come from, say, my internal network, you would put that in there, and then only hosts on this network would be able to ping or respond. And additionally as well, if you wanted management services, you would use the permitted IP addresses. I'll leave that in there because it seems okay. Okay, so that's response pages. You can, so if you wanted to export that and edit it and then import it back in, you could do to further customize it. If you wanted to just import a page, have a page designed, there are limitations around what the page can produce. I won't go into that now, but we'll do a quick video on response pages because they are really the way that you interact with your users. And then log settings is basically the system logs and where you want them to go. Not just the system logs. So system logs mean so system logs there actually refers to the system log. So if you were to go to here, this is where you would see those system logs. Okay, so in here, what that is doing is basically taking those system logs of severity equal medium and exporting them to Splunk. And if you wanted to then have, say, medium and critical, you could go for or severity, or severity EQ medium. Okay, severity EQ medium, yep. And then that would appear there, and then that would then forward logs from the system log that are medium or critical. Also in there is, if you were using Panorama, you would tick Panorama there, and then it would automatically forward its logs of those. If you filtered it for none, then it will forward all logs. But it will automatically forward all those logs then to Panorama, and they'll be available in Panorama. And again, this is, you can SNMP, you can send emails, or HTTP. Config logs, same thing. User ID. So in here you got just the user ID, sending all logs to Splunk. So I get all my user ID logs. Hip match is the, I haven't actually set that up at the minute, but that's the host profiling, and you can log this obviously again to all the other ones, Global Protect. And at the bottom, that's where you can then clear traffic logs, clear the user ID logs. You can enable alarms, so you can get an alarm, CLI alarm, so it's a notification for you, web alarms when you log onto the GUI, audible alarms, thing beeps at you. Security policy limits is what it says, use security policy limits, use security policy group limits. And then you got your traffic log DB and threat log database and stuff, and the percentage full before it would start to alarm. Okay. Yeah, sort of tied in with all this is when you're using external services such as SNMP, syslog, email, and HTTP, this is where you configure the servers that you would that you're wishing to connect to. So, for instance, I have a Cisco ISE configured under Radius, and this is where I would configure that. And then further down the line, I would then add that to my authentication profile. But all connectivity from the firewall to Cisco ISE is done through here. And the same goes for the others. So, for instance, in my multi-factor authentication, I've got Duo MFA because I've got that set up. And so these are the profiles at the bottom end for connecting to the services themselves, connection information, ports, usernames, passwords, any certificates, things like that, all involved in there. And then you then go on to use them later in policies. Local user database is, as it suggests, local user database. And you've got users and user groups, fairly simple and straightforward. You have users, which are added, user groups, and then that ties in with the authentication profiles. Scheduled log export. Take a log, schedule it to be exported to wherever you want to go at a certain time, over and over again, through SCP or FTP. I'm exporting threat logs at the minute. Software is the box software. So currently you can see I'm running on 9.1.5. I've actually installed 9.1.8 to download. I've downloaded 9.1.8, and if I click that, it'll install it. And then I will go on to upgrade to 10 as soon as possible, I think. Here you see the release notes. That's a hyperlink will take you straight to the release notes for 9.1, and you can see which from there you'll be able to see what issues there were in previous versions. You'll be able to see what's been fixed in this version, and the image obviously remains on the box should you want to revert to it, sort of reinstall there, so you can then reinstall and roll back. All very easy, but if you feel like that is then going to take up space on the box, you can delete that software image. That is that's removable because like we said before with the other stuff, that's removable because it's not been installed yet. That's not removable because it's installed, and that's removable because it's not installed. Okay, so Global Protect client. This is the client that is pushed out to users when they first log on. So you decide what client version you want them to run. You can also decide, you can write policy around what version they've got on if they've installed it from somewhere else. Again, you got your release notes there. You can remove the image for one that's not installed. based on the fact that it's going to take up space, storage space. Dynamic updates, possibly one of the biggest strengths of the Palo Alto firewall. You've got your antivirus, applications and threats, and wildfire. And then here you simply just schedule when you want to download them. You've got a threshold of hours. That's the hour that the content pack has to be at least this old for it to do anything with it. So you're not continually sort of downloading stuff. And also as well, Palo are very, very, very quick to recall any kind of update that has any issues that are reported. So within that 2-hour period, you can be fairly sure that if there's any issues found, they will have solved it. Change your occurrence. So manual, if you feel like doing it manually, pointless. Hourly, yeah. Set mine at daily, and you can have weekly as well. And then your options are to download only. That's as it says it does, download it only, and download and install. The only one where they do suggest that you do just download only, although because I'm just at home, download and install is fine, is the applications and threats update. And that's specifically because an application may change in nature, its definition, within the applications database may change in nature, and you may find that halfway through the day in a production environment, you've suddenly got an application that is being blocked because it no longer meets the criteria of the application policy that it was being passed on previously. Wildfire, again, every 15 minutes I've got it set to. You can go as low as every minute. Bear in mind that your wildfire updates are already and pushed out within 5 minutes of the 0 day hitting wildfire and being discovered to be malicious. So every minute is practical, but I've got every 15 minutes. And again, with that, you can download and install, and then synchronize content with the HAPer after you download and install, which makes sense. Okay. Licenses are licenses. It gives you your license status for everything that's on the box. Support is quite good. And it bobs into it because it gives you all the contact details, gives you expiry date, standard what kind of support you've got, contact us link, hyperlink, your support home, manage cases, that's a link to your support portal, register your device. If you're in a call with them, they ask you to generate a tech support file, just come in here and do it. You can upload that from here as well, and generates that dump file, the same thing. Okay, so master key and diagnostics. Master key and diagnostics. Master key is used to encrypt passwords, keys, and things like this held on the box. If the master key expires, the box does reboot into maintenance mode, which can be seen here. That's your current master key, so you can change it, change the lifetime, and change the time for the reminder, and auto renew with the same master key. Those are your options. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at as we go forward is the network tab, and look at interfaces and zones and VLANs and how things are sort of pushed across and where you configure stuff, virtual routers, and so on. And so if you like and subscribe, I'll see you then.